open space meeting, and we are beginning at
106.
108.
107.
107. And we are being videoed. Start at, let's see, Virginia's meeting. Okay, did we get, everybody get a chance to review the minutes from the last two meetings? And any corrections for anybody? I saw one little typo, right? It's a junk store was spelled wrong, other than that. The second, it was the second one,
Someplace.
yeah, at the bottom.
Jenkes?
Jenkes.
Oh, seriously wrong on that one.
Maps.
Never got that.
The maps.
Oh, yeah. Jen.
CKES.
Doesn't I only go by that how many times? All right, I will fix that before it's officially submitted.
All right, so it's amended. I entertain a motion to accept. I will. Yep.
Okay,
So
you have
reading.
two sets.
Right,
You have April 5th and you have April 27th. So
right.
you're entertaining a motion to accept which?
Both. We can do both at once.
Except I need to recuse myself from the 5th.
Okay. So we'll vote to, wording. I entertain the motion to accept the May 5th, 2020.
April.
April. Which one is this? Oh, this is something. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Somebody else has to say
April
so
5th.
moved.
April 5th. All in favor?
No,
Or
you need a
second?
Second.
Second? All in favor? Aye. See, I gotta write it down. Okay, and then we will vote on the April 27th minutes. Entertain a motion to accept the April 27th minutes with the correction of junk store on there.
So moved.
Okay, Lisa.
Second it?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Minutes are fine. Thank you. All right, now we're gonna go to Danny.
Okay, so for the surveys, we have technically 98 responses, but in terms of people who actually submitted it completely, we have 63 complete responses. So definitely a jump from last time. Would it be helpful to see who's been responding? I don't know if you want a full breakdown of what the responses are yet, because it's still open and it might change slightly. But in terms of who's been responding, no one under 18 has sent in a survey response, which is pretty typical. Unless you really send them to the schools and the schools like give the kids time.
Well, I brought them to the posters to the schools, so.
Okay.
I don't know if they ever put them up.
Yeah, it could, yeah, it's not unusual. Most towns, they don't really get a whole lot of kids' responses, but if we can get them, so maybe we do another push with the schools to see if they actually put up the flyers. We got one from the 18 to 24 gap. Again, not a whole lot. Our biggest category or age category is 55 to 64. And then, in between 35 to 54, it's about the same. 65 to 74, it's about the same. And then sort of 75 and up, we only have one response. So I definitely, our under 18 and our over 75, if we can increase that, I think that would be helpful. But it is, a fairly good turnout for responses, good quality responses, which I think is more valuable to get some ideas from that. We do have a close date of June 1st, but we can always extend that. There's no sort of deadline that we have to meet with that. So if we want to extend it a couple of weeks and try to get it, maybe in the schools again or at the adult rec center. Did we get it into do they have a newsletter?
Yeah, but it came out just about around the same time as our last meeting for 2 months.
Okay,
Including June.
sure.
Can you see if they're incomplete, can you see if there's a specific section? Because I did hear a couple things about the ranking,
Sure.
and people who were doing it on their phones had problems with
Okay.
1 through 11. And
Yeah.
I sort of had, I guess I wasn't, in the beginning, it wasn't clear that I was ranking. I thought,
Mhm.
so,
Yeah, for sure. So, let me go down and see where I can see the most skips. Okay, so we got a lot of skips on question 8, which is how strongly do you support Douglas protecting, acquiring, and/or improving town-owned land for the following reasons? That's not a ranking.
a lot of skips, huh?
Yeah,
Interesting.
and then I think probably it probably starts to drop off because those are the bigger matrix questions. So there's a lot of things to answer from that. And then ranking, another big drop off as well.
That was the 1 through 11.
Yep, question 10, open space and recreation expenditures, ranking those. And then, yeah, sort of dwindles off from that. So I think it's probably, we had a lot of large questions
Right.
where there was a lot of things to answer, so probably just some fatigue at that point. But, 63 people still responded to them, so not a whole lot of fatigue. It's still doable. But it's not, again, another not unusual thing that you get people who open it and then don't really finish it all the way. We can readjust the questions, but we'll have to do, like if you fix a question, it gets rid of all the other answers from before, so I'd have to download them and then sort of smoosh them together. We could do that. I don't know if it'll really get you more responses that way. Do we want to keep it open another couple weeks?
Well, through June 1st, I think.
Yep, it's open through June 1st, so beyond that, if we want to do it.
Doesn't hurt.
Oh, yeah, maybe another push in the
Yeah.
Tribune and.
Yeah, I could do that this week, though.
Okay. We again, there's really no deadline that we have to meet. So if we want to keep it open a whole extra month, if there's other newspapers or newsletters that we could get into.
Was it in Dynamic Douglas?
I posted it on
Yeah.
Scenic and the other Douglas Blackstone one. I did post it in both of those. But I can repost it to
I put like
push it as a reminder again.
40 posts, every
Yeah.
poster you gave me is gone. No.
Yeah, it's
I just feel like we've pretty much saturated. I
Mhm.
think another post on Facebook, and then I
Yeah.
can put it in the Tribune again.
yeah. I think the
But
only
I'm
other
not-
thing that you could do is mailings.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, my neighbors don't know about it, and I have the postcards. They don't have the website on it, which is what I used, but,
Mhm.
most people have cell phones probably. You just stick those in mailboxes, but you can't do that, so.
All right. Well, why don't we keep it open through mid-June, and we can reassess at our next meeting if we feel like we want to keep it open longer.
All right, so what date? Because I can do like extended through mid-June.
It's the 15th and 16th of June.
We're looking at, next meeting is the 7th, so.
So you want June 15th?
Sure. Yeah, let's do June 15th.
A lot of people might be just putting it off and then forgetting about it.
So we'll reassess at the next meeting, because we'll have like a week more before we close it. And then, if it seems good, then the following meeting, I can give a presentation on the results that we have. Okay. And that I'll get more into what the actual responses are. It wasn't on this agenda, but I did just want to go back to the goals and objectives discussion. So at our last meeting, we came up with our 5 goals. So just a reminder, that's preserve the rural character of the town, protect the town's natural resources, build the climate resiliency of the town, improve the town's recreation opportunities, and then increase public engagement, knowledge, and utilization of the town's resources. And again, the wording of that we can change, but that's just sort of the general idea of those 5 goals. And then we went through an exercise to come up with some objectives for those goals. So there's about 3 to 5 objectives for each of these. So I'll run through them quickly. Again, the wording of them, we don't need to keep that. We can definitely change it, but these are just the general ideas that we had come up with for the objectives. So for goal 1, that's again the rural character. I came up with protect and promote local agriculture as an objective. And then some action items under that. We discussed farmland, right to farm, and then the Chapter 61A lands. Objective number 2, retain private forests and trees. So we talked about a tree removal bylaw, and then again those Chapter 61 programs. Objective 3, maintain historic character and scenic resources. So we talked about scenic views and scenic roads. Objective number 4, prioritize open space preservation over development. So we talked about revising that density bylaw, and again, Chapter 61B lands, which are recreation lands. And then you had sent me the dark skies and noise pollution. So I put it here, though I think it could work in the next goal as well of reduce urban pollution. So in there we talk about dark skies, noise pollution, and then air quality. I think you could put it in either. So really depends if you want to move it down, since there's 5 objectives in goal 1. Again, I think it could really work in either way. Anything we missed for when we're defining our rural character? No? Okay. All right, so moving on to goal 2. So this is protect the town's natural resources. So I've got objective 1, fortify surface and groundwater resources from adverse impacts. So things we talked about there is groundwater, lakes and ponds, wetlands, vernal pools, or just like the watershed as a whole. Objective number 2, maintain and increase wildlife habitats and wildlife corridors. So again, talking about our native flora and fauna, endangered species and habitat destruction. And then retain the native ecosystem. So this one I kind of had trouble with, but we talked about sort of the detriment of solar farms, of what they're doing to clear cutting our lots, or potential erosion and runoff effects, the increase of invasive species sort of outcompeting our native species, and then I think there too we could fit in the light pollution and the noise as well. Thoughts on those 3 objectives?
What was the last one?
Noise and light.
Retain the native ecosystem. Again, the wording of that, we don't need to keep. Thoughts on if we want to move the reduce urban pollution down into that goal?
Can you just it's, right now it's under,
So right now, reduce urban pollution is under the rural character goal, which I think it works there. But if we want to move it down to protect the town's natural resources, I think it could sort of fit in both categories.
yeah, I guess reduced pollution could stay where it is, but then the dark skies and the noise, maybe to the,
Talk about it in both.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Anything you feel like we missed with our natural resources? Okay. Goal number 3 is build the climate resiliency of the town. So you've got 3 goals there. Yeah, 3 goals there. 3 objectives. Number 1, reduce flooding and stormwater concerns, so runoff, erosion, anything else like that we'd fit there. Objective number 2, strengthen awareness of extreme temperatures and drought impacts. So we could talk about wildfires, invasive species, and then sort of under that, burn permits and education about invasive species, and wildfires even. And then objective number 3, reduce impacts caused by winter storms and severe storms. So think about dead and dying trees, and the impacts that might have. Anything we missed with climate resiliency?
At the moment, no, but we talked about finding the MVP report.
Yes.
I don't know if you put it in the shared drive, but I did find it for some other reason. And
Okay.
it has a lot of good recommendations in it. So I think we could go back and look at that and
Sure.
say, which do we want to maybe highlight
Okay.
in this, because, and it also has specifics
Mhm.
that we might want to also
Yep.
incorporate,
As a goal.
right?
Yeah, I did put it in there in the OneDrive, so I can show where that is. This is just the actions that I think you're referring to,
Yes.
sort of those priority actions. So I think we should definitely pull some of this out and plug into our action plan as well. And then in doing that, it makes it more competitive when you go to apply for the MVP action grant. If you can say it's in this, it's in the open space plan, it's in whatever else plan you want to put it in, or sort of vice versa if you go to apply for say a land or a park grant, and you highlight that we talked about this in the MVP plan. Just you get a couple extra points with that.
I think I also mentioned that Sutton, the village of Manchog, is going after a specific grant that would help them control flooding, because
Mhm.
a lot of the watershed is actually in Douglas, and it flows
Just
through
spins
Sutton,
through,
and
yeah.
then it ends up back in Douglas.
Mhm.
So if we can show that there's a little bit of cohesion there with
Sure.
another town, I think that would even enhance our point gathering.
Okay. Any other comments on the climate resiliency goal / objectives? Next goal is to improve the town's recreation resources. So we've got 3 objectives here as well. Number 1, maintain and expand active recreation facilities and programs. So some things we listed there are biking, horseback riding, cross-country skiing, organized sports, and then sort of the facilities for those, so ball fields, tennis courts, basketball courts, things like that. Objective number 2, promote and expand passive recreation opportunities. So some topics we talked about there are bird watching and wildlife viewing, walking, fishing, ecotourism, just to name a few. And then the last objective is provide recreation opportunities to a diverse range of interests and abilities. So youth, disabled, aging, minority, really focusing on access for those different groups. Any comments on that? Do we want to change how we worded those objectives? No? Okay. And then our last goal is increase public engagement, knowledge, and utilization of town's resources. So I've got 3 objectives here. Number 1, expand and promote cultural and arts opportunities. So we talked about the Oktoberfest and Farmers Market. Increase utilization and awareness of town resources. So, potentially education programs, maps and access to information, whether it be on the town's website or social media pages. And then the last objective is develop local and regional partnerships. We had talked about sort of utilizing our youth organizations. If you use regional ones as well, regional watershed groups, things like that. Any comments on that last goal? No? Good? Okay, so what I'll do is I will send all this out to you all. If you want to reword anything, that's totally fine. Or if you think of anything between now and the next meeting that you want to adjust, that's okay too. But we'll go for this right now as sort of our outline for our action plan. And then, based on what's in that MVP report, any stuff we want to pull out from that, and then, feedback we get on the survey, we can readjust. But we'll try to organize any action ideas or comments we get into those different categories. Okay, next on the agenda was the ADA property walk. So I don't have the ADA list or the maps yet. I apologize for that. I've sort of been hounding our GIS analyst, but he's just got a backload. So we did get a new GIS intern, so I'm hopeful that will reduce the time. So I don't have that yet. But in the meantime, since we don't have that list where we can sort of mark or assign when we're going to do those ADA assessments, there are some other things that we need in addition to that that inventory. So when we go to submit our plan, we need to have a letter that has our ADA coordinator designation, which hopefully the town has, but not every town has that, as well as grievance procedures and public notification requirements. So those are 3 documents that we have to attach to our inventory and then submit with the plan.
Grievance, what was the third one?
Public notification requirements. So the town may already have that stuff. Some towns I've worked with, they haven't had that. So if the town doesn't have that already set up, I can send some examples from other towns. I think the Board of Selectmen would need to then vote to approve those procedures and notification requirements.
I think it's the building inspector.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
Ken Fraser.
Is the ADA coordinator? Okay.
And he knows that he's ready to go for a walk with me at any time.
Perfect. Okay, so if we can track down, again, it should be 3 documents. One's a letter that states who the ADA coordinator is. One would be grievance procedures, and then one would be public notification requirements. If we can get that, that should check off that. That's usually one of the things that holds up our approval when we get back to it.
Are those kind of things supposed to be, or the grievance procedure and the public notification requirements, are those supposed to be on the website, or would that be a good place for those to live?
I think it definitely would be a good place for those to live. The open space plan doesn't give guidance on where it should be posted
okay.
with the town. It just wants it somewhere. But I do think that would be a good place to put it if it's not there already.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yes, so participation of individuals with disabilities or organizations representing the disabled community should be involved in the inventory assessment that we do.
Who was that?
Participation of individuals with disabilities or organizations representing the disabled community. I think that could just be your ADA coordinator. So we can go with that for now, but I can double check that.
So we could see if he could pop into our next meeting.
Okay. And then, yeah, once I have that Excel sheet of all the properties, we can go through and see which ones we actually have to do. So it has to be town-owned, conservation or recreation lands, and then they have to have public access. So if it's, water protection supply land that nobody has access to, we wouldn't need to do that because there's no need really for there to be ADA access there. Okay. Next on the agenda, you had responses from boards on protection. Did you get any responses back yet? No. Okay, not a problem. We may want to.
Do you expect to ever get any back?
I've done this in a couple other towns. I think 1 or 2 boards have responded. So we may want to push that out to them again, if possible, or
I did
maybe
talk
email
to-
them.
I did talk to the
Okay.
component at he was at Silversfield the other day.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, no rush on that, but as much as we can get some additional input, it's all helpful. And then next, scenic and historic spots per map. So again, I don't have the maps, but hopefully you have some spots that you came up with that we wanted to highlight on our map. Awesome, that's great. Yeah, if I can take that, that's great.
You wanna make a photocopy or you good?
I won't lose it. Okay, great.
We have old maps too of town that
Okay.
I wouldn't mind to
Sure.
make one back.
Okay.
Is the Stone Arch Bridge on there?
The what?
The Stone Arch Bridge?
2 stone arches. Wallem Lake Road, and what other one? The one over here on Mumford.
Okay, no, I was talking about the
Mechanic Street.
Well, like, for the Scenic,
Yeah.
because I think that is definitely a
Mechanic Street is
scenic.
too.
A scenic.
Did anybody else have a list you wanted to share too, or do you want to look through and see if
They're all
you
there.
got them? I
Even-
think
even
you
this
probably
one
got
I-
them all here.
I was looking through for the maps today, and I found this one that was they were gonna put in a wind farm on the Webster line,
Mhm.
and they found Indian
Okay,
architectural stuff.
cool.
So I put that one as the
On
last
this
one.
Awesome. So what I'll do is I'm gonna go through this list and see if I can find a general location for them so that we can map it. If not, I might just shoot out an email asking for if you've got like a specific location. If I can't find it for some reason online.
Well, some of them are, the more obscure maybe are the Heritage Landscape Inventory, and you
Okay.
can find that on that. Purple Blossom Farm.
Okay, so like I said, I'll type this up and try to find the locations, and I can send that out to all of you. So if you miss
want
some,
me to do that, I can do that too, type it up, and then I have the location, I can.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's helpful.
Yeah.
All right, so you'll do that. And then along with that, so that's going to go in our scenic and unique resources map and section of the plan as well. And so if we can find just a short description of some of the sites as well to include in the plan, it's helpful, just so we can explain what each is. It doesn't need to be long, but once we have that list, we can sort of go through and
Take it out and add, yeah.
yeah, and then I can find what's online, but if there's something that there has, you might have more background in, I'd love to have that as well.
Yeah, like the Revolutionary War sites, I'm not exactly sure where they are, the taverns. Yeah. Here, take it back.
Is that coffee house or?
Hmm, Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a historic, that's a tavern, hunt houses, sports garage.
Okay, and then the last thing on the list was the MVP report. So that is online now. If you go, and I can send out a link to this too, but if you're in that folder and the Douglas OSRP OneDrive folder, and you go down to other planning documents, it's listed there. It's pretty long because there's the appendix in it as well. But so it's not actually 208 pages. I think it's maybe like 80 or so.
Oh, it's pretty comprehensive though.
So it details, I'm not sure if any of you were a part of that MVP workshop, but basically it's a summary of what was discussed at that workshop. So it's going to list out the top vulnerabilities of the town in 3 different categories: infrastructure, which is more the physical things, or think of like dams and culverts; societal concerns, so any concerns with demographics or certain programs and policies of the towns, and then environmental concerns, which is your natural resources. And then it does the same thing for the strengths, so your infrastructure, societal, environmental strengths, and then priority actions for each of those categories as well. And then it's down here. I pulled it out, but it is in here, the priority action list. So this is everything sort of that was talked about, and then it's sort of organized into high priority actions, then medium and low, and then within that sort of sort of a category and an issue, and then the location, approximate location for where that action might occur. So if you want to take a look through it, or if we want to run through them now, I don't know what would be helpful.
Maybe we could look through it until, all of us review it and come
Sure.
up with things that we think maybe
Okay.
we might have missed.
Great. So if there's any questions with the setup of the report or the action plan, let me know. I can address that as well. And then last column here is the hazard that it might address, which I don't know if the key came up in this one, but so the water, that's flooding. Fire would be wildfire. The little snowflake is winter storms. This is wind, and then this sort of dead plant is drought. So those are just sort of the general hazards that it'll hopefully address, or that the concern is, which is why the action was thought of. So yeah, if any questions come up when you're reviewing that, let me know. I can sort of find that answer. And then sort of beyond that, again, not on the list, but as we're starting to hopefully pull together our action plan, I'd love to get into more specifics of the town. So any concerns that you all have about the town, which may come up when you're reviewing that MVP report. So things like any concerns with flooding, invasive species, condition of some of our open space and recreation properties, if there's any, again, invasive species on those lands, drainage issues, any other issues impacting use of those lands, just generally some things that you can come up with. I'll come up with a list and send that out as well. But that'll also help our sort of our analysis of needs and wants sort of for our open space and recreation opportunities.
Overuse.
Hmm?
We're loving these lakes to death.
I guess Walnut was packed on Sunday.
Yeah,
No
Walnut Lake
bathrooms
has the-
yet.
Walnut Lake has the most buffer. I mean, the
Yeah,
Manachog Pond, Whiten Reservoir, it's just,
yeah.
And then that is all that I had, unless there are any questions. Okay. So look for an email from me by the end of the week with a link to the MVP report. What else did I say I was gonna do? The full list of
Action
the,
plan.
yep,
The
goals and objectives.
Template.
You're gonna type up the scenic resources, and then sort of the, questions or concerns that we wanna include in our analysis. Needs, and then yes, the MVP report link. Okay.
And we're extending the survey through June 15th.
Oh, yes. Extending survey. And I will update that on the Survey Monkey website as well, so. Okay. Anything else?
If you wanna make some more signs,
Okay.
we could meet someplace at our meeting spot.
Yeah. Now that I know. Sure. Maybe I can meet you somewhere next week.
Yeah, call me when you get the,
Okay.
or write me when you get the, copies made.
Okay, great.
I'll bring them back to the school at
Perfect.
night and tape them everywhere.
Well, I'm
Put them on all the
So that,
desks.
yeah, the cameras aren't gonna watch me.
I don't know, is there a particular class or something we could target that says, can we come in and make a quick, yeah.
Homework assignment.
Or not even homework, they could just, it only
Environmental
takes 10
science
minutes,
class?
environmental
Right, can we
science.
just have everybody, take a few minutes to,
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Could it be the school board? Get in touch with the school board
Yeah.
maybe?
it was just
they all
superintendent, I think.
asked, well, actually just the elementary school asked if I had permission from the superintendent. She was the only one that cared. She goes, some of us follow the rules, like none of the other schools asked.
No, I think I don't even know who the superintendent is right now, but
Right.
just a conversation there and say,
Yeah.
we need more young people to take this,
Mhm.
what do you recommend? Can we come to a class or, because I'm happy to go to a class with you.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to scare little kids. How about the next meeting is the 7th, is that okay?
Yep, 7th, 1 p.m., same time?
This room or the other room.
Okay.
Whatever.
Thank you, Dean.
No, thank you. Like I said, expect an email from me by the end of the week, and then I'll get in touch once I have the stuff printed and we can meet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I don't know that we need to discuss the Duval Road property since we talked already to Matt before the meeting. Yeah, when you were, see if we can, maybe we should just go to a planning board meeting sometime and, because you were talking before about how to, get us to find out at the same time, pass it along, just, don't even have to be at the meetings.
Matt was supposed to follow up on getting that language changed. I have to go back to,
Oh,
so that
That would
it was
be-
done automatically.
Right.
so that the open space committee's included in notice.
Of planning board.
Yeah. I forget the minutes from,
It was a policy change, it didn't have to, it wasn't a bylaw change.
correct, he said it was,
But you wanted all proposals to the planning board to be sent, a copy sent to us.
Matt to do regulations for the planning board, add review by open space.
That's right.
So we need to
He did not do that.
This is number 7 on March 15. Submitted subdivision, 2 ways, he remembers to give them the open space or update subdivision regulation requirements. And he was supposed to follow up.
Yep, we need to,
Okay.
it's from March 15th.
Mm-hmm.
So we think that would be an easy enough thing to do. He's here, right?
Yeah.
Go visit him before
Yeah,
we
sure.
leave?
Yep.
We also understood that there would be a hearing on the Southern New England Trunk Line Trail at the Board of Selectmen's meeting tonight. That's been canceled.
Right.
Or it will be rescheduled, or Ellen knows.
I
Yeah,
talked
it's
to
in my
Chuck and he
calendar.
didn't know when it was gonna happen.
I don't know.
All right, and next is updating the open space website, which we can do through Lisa Freeman, the new administrative assistant. So,
So, it's not through Jen in community development?
I don't think so. It's-
Because that's
I-
who put the survey on the website for me.
Okay.
I don't know.
We'll just keep thinking about that one.
I think maybe we could come up with an outline at some point, but I can't find anything on that website, so I'm not investing a lot of time until,
Let's get through this project.
well, it's my understanding that every department has its own access, but then it's so limited. I mean, if you look for the open space survey, it's this little news flash type of thing, and then it links you to the open space page, but nobody even knows it's there, because there's no,
I didn't know you had one.
The website, yeah. Well, you go on the town website, and then you go under the government. It shows like people that were maybe on the committee
Mhm.
100 years
to be
ago.
updated.
it's just not.
We don't have meetings we used to have it the third Thursday of every month, but there wasn't that much to do, so. All right. And any new business? Seeing none, I'll pull out my cheat sheet. I make a motion to adjourn. I entertain.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we adjourn the meeting at